welcome to the Texas Cannabis Collective Weekly Update for the week of October 22nd, 2022. I'm Jesse Williams. Likes and a subscribe go a long way to helping others receive cannabis news updates. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at txcannaco.com, texascannaco.com, and search for Lone Star Collective Podcast and the Texas Cannabis Collective in your search engine to get updates about our show and weekly news. We've got upcoming events in Texas. On November 11th and 12th is the Texas Hemp Summit hosted by the Texas Hemp Coalition at Texas A&M College Station. Use code SUMMITTCC for $25 off. The Texas Hemp Harvest Festival is taking place on November 19th in Austin, Texas. Visit texascannaco.com and click on the events tab for more information. Our news and updates and our podcast are sponsored by Thrive Apothecary. For more information, visit thrivetx.com. Support also comes from Oak Cliff Cultivators. For more information on Oak Cliff Cultivators, visit oakcliffcultivators.com. This week in cannabis news, our neighbors in Louisiana had their Employment and Medical Marijuana Task Force convene to tackle workplace medical marijuana concerns. The issue has come up as the state passed a bill into law in the 2022 summer that prohibits government employers from firing medical cannabis patients for failing a THC test. The bill, however, still allows firing employees intoxicated on the job. This has created concern among employees as to how it will be handled. The concern that the task force came together about, though, and began to ask was, how strictly can the state regulate the private sector with regards to medical marijuana? Louisiana's task force, created through a study resolution authored by Representative Mandy Landry, Democrat from New Orleans, is looking at those states' laws to draft proposals for Louisiana legislature to consider, those states' laws being states that have already legalized marijuana in their states. Task Force member Troy Prevost, a physician assistant who conducts employment drug testing in the Baton Rouge area, said many workplace policies and government regulations are outdated and still based on the mistaken belief that a positive drug test is an indicator of intoxication. A person who smoked a joint a month ago can test positive on a hair follicle drug screen and be deemed intoxicated even though they are not. What is under the influence? Prevost asked. I get worried about using that kind of language. It's unfair. None of the available drug screening technologies can indicate a definite time of when a person consumed a drug, and the levels of drugs a laboratory detects cannot determine if a person is impaired because individuals metabolize drugs at different rates, he said. There's nothing that I'm aware of links impairment, Prevost said. I would be very worried about this task force trying to use levels to show impairment. This story was first published by the Louisiana Illuminator. A federal court has ruled against Border Patrol again in a case on marijuana paraphernalia imported to legal states. The ruling resulted in noting that the company Kirtan can import equipment such as twisted trimmers products that are used to separate leaves from marijuana plants in the state legal market. The Border Patrol agency was claiming that the product was banned from import on Controlled Substances Act laws. The U.S. Court of International Trade, CIT, has already established precedent in this unique situation recently, allowing the importation of trimming equipment from a Canadian company to a Washington state business. Although the Customs and Border Patrol, CBP, falls under the Department of Homeland Security, the department was represented by the Department of Justice, the DOJ, in the hearings. The DOJ tried to argue that the CBP exclusion from entry was necessary because the company intended to sell products used for the manufacturing of marijuana, which is a Schedule I drug under the Controlled Substances Act. Kirtan argued CBP's exclusion of the subject merchandised from entry into the United States is unlawful because Washington state law authorizes Kirtan to manufacture, possess, and distribute marijuana paraphernalia, exempting the subject merchandise from the Federal Mail Order Drug Paraphernalia Control Act of 1986. The court said that the DOJ argument doesn't hold up under a review of relevant statute that creates a drug paraphernalia exception for imports to states that have authorized the activity regardless of federal law. The reason being that federal law carves out some exceptions to include the import and export ban when it is authorized by local, state, or federal law to manufacture, possess, or distribute such items. The DOJ stated that the CSA's overarching purpose is to create a uniform federal prohibition and that allowing the exemption to extend to Washington state's repeal would undermine the uniformity Congress intended. However, Congress did not impose complete uniformity, the court stated. It provided an exemption. Had it wanted to limit that exemption, it could have done so. Federal law defines drug paraphernalia as any equipment, product, or material of any kind which is primarily intended or designed for use in manufacturing, compounding, converting, concealing, producing, processing, preparing, injecting, ingesting, inhaling, or otherwise introducing into the human body a controlled substance. The court ruled that a repeal of prohibition by the state would be considered an authorization, and that since the defendant, the DOJ, argued that there is no federal prohibition against possession of drug paraphernalia, that the shipment was legal and authorized under state and federal law. That's going to do it this week for Texas Cannabis News Updates. If there's something going on in Texas cannabis space you think others should be aware of, just drop us a note on our contact form online. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter at texascannaco.com and search for the Lone Star Collective podcast in your search engine to get updates about our show and weekly news. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for updates as well. Early voting starts soon, and we'll hope you'll voice your opinion on ending cannabis prohibition at the polls in the upcoming election. Have a great week, Texas, and be safe.